Today's exercise is actually a little bit different. You notice I'm not in normal workout clothes, but this is something I so believe Jake did, and I believe that he just carried throughout his life. And it's something that honestly I am questioned about weekly right now on how I keep such a positive attitude. And I learned so much from Jake on that after all that he had been through, and of course everything that I had previously been through. And we just chose together to choose to see the best. But as I started my daily devotional today, it struck me and was just like, this is what you have to share. This is not necessarily a working out exercise, but an exercise that will help so many people if they take on. So our verse is Proverbs 15, verse 15. And it says, all the days of the oppressed are wretched, but the cheerful heart has a continual feast. So then what I'm going to read for you today is my devotional from Love Out Loud. And this is by Joyce Meyer. And Jake and I actually read this and Jesus Calling the night before he passed away. And it was, we had read out of this one and that one several times before. So it's very special to me, very close to my heart. But it says, the title is Your Thoughts will lead you. So I hope you listen. I like to say, where the mind goes, the man follows. In other words, positive thoughts are precursors to a positive life. On the other hand, anxious thoughts and negative expectations set us up for miserable lives. Many people think they cannot control their thoughts, but they can. Like anything else, it takes practice. What you think is up to you. You can choose your own thoughts and should do so carefully, since thoughts have a lot of creative power in your life. If you don't reject bad thoughts, you will ultimately turn those thoughts into bad words and actions that are not pleasing to God. When our lives don't go well, we tend to blame our problems. But most of the time, it's not the problems causing the trouble. It's the way we think about the problems. One person, when faced with difficulty, might think, this is terrible. I will never get through this. My life is ruined. Another person, faced with exactly the same hardship, might choose to think, this is a challenge, but God promises to fight for me, and He will win this battle. Which of the two people do you think would come through the difficulty in better shape? Learning how to think correctly is mandatory for every aspect of health. I urge you to make a priority of learning to think upbeat, healthy thoughts that agree with God's Word. Don't let negative thoughts lead you into an unhappy life. Choose positive thoughts that will strengthen and encourage you and lead to a life of joy, peace, and victory. And then at the bottom, there's always this little thing that says, love yourself today. And it says, in what ways do you need to change your thoughts about yourself and your life? So going back to what I originally said in the beginning, your thoughts will lead you. Jake had not had an easy life. Jake had lost his sister. He had lost his dad. And he had fought, injuries and just other things that are part of life. But he chose to continue on. He chose to not have that chip on his shoulder. He chose to see a future and to see just light and life and positivity. And in doing so, he exuded that. He was that. I know so many people, when they talk about Jake, they talk about his big smile. Like you never saw him without this big smile on his face. And that's the truth. And that's how he chose to carry himself. But it started here. You know, it started in how, even before he became a Christian, like how he was letting God work on him, how he let him into his heart. And just when I met him and I knew all of the adversity that he had been through, you know, it rubbed off on me even more. And our stories together, we both just longed for hope. We longed for a refresh. We longed for newness of life. And God provided that. We had to change our thought process though. So that's my challenge to you going into the rest of this spring. Just your life in general. If you are in a rut, if you are so unhappy, if you are miserable right now, if you have had so many tragic things happen to you, where are you letting your thoughts go every day? Where are you letting them lead you? Remember our verse. All the days of the oppressed are wretched, but the cheerful heart has a continual feast. You get to choose. It's a choice. It is a choice every day when you get out of bed. It is a choice to say, today is going to be a good day. No, I'm not in control. And you never will be in control. But you get to choose to make it good, to be thankful, to be grateful, to be happy, to have joy, or to be miserable. I would much rather be joyful and crazy and goofy and all that than miserable. As always, I hope that this is helpful to you, and I hope it reminds you of the life of Jake.